My lovely panelists for coming out this evening. I'm really looking forward. I'm really excited for the conversation we're about to have. So this conversation is about women empowerment. I mean, if we look at the type of conversations that have been going on in our dialogue on a day-to-day basis, we see a lot of, topics that don't really seem empowering to me. So we're going to actually analyze it. We're going to have our experts talk about it, and we're going to add it up and see if it actually makes sense. And then we're going to talk about things that I feel are really empowering and see if it's empowering to you, if we can actually learn and, we can all come together on this subject. So right now we're going to play a little video.
Think like a man. You think that was just something that, Steve Harvey came up with? No. Steve Harvey was the type of person that could be on the radio that can really exploit this matter. And it really showed you how intricate, how deep, how strong, how conniving the game is. I mean, come on. How in the world are you going to get a thought that says, women, take off your clothes and you will be empowered. You are actually making yourself a better person. You're going to get more riches. You're going to get more abundance if you show men your thong. I mean, come on. Think about that. That doesn't make sense, but that was being pushed down the airwaves. Halle Berry goes in a boom, boom, boom in a Jet magazine talking about, ooh, I felt empowered, I felt like I was really doing something when I took off my clothes and got my Academy Award. Wow. And then she got rewarded with the Academy Award. And it's like, man, really? I can do that? And next thing you know, we into this empowerment era of hip hop, where women are feeling like, what? Hey, I need to take off the little shells off, the little constraints of the church and the Puritan state. I've been constrained. I've been too much controlled. I got to get out there. I got to show who I am. I got to empower myself, and I got to strip down and show the world who I am. I mean, who was that convenient for? Was that convenient for the women, or is that convenient for the men in control, or the men that think of women only as sex objects? I mean, think about it. Who really benefited from that behavior? No, I don't think women really benefited. I think men benefited. That's why it was mind control. That wasn't real.
So one of the things that I want to get started with is I've been actually researching women empowerment, women's sexuality for about the last 20 years. One thing that bothers me immensely is the recycling of stories, the recycling of the same type of situation. I see women continuously doing the same thing over and over again, and I just feel very frustrated. I really can't really talk to them. And so that's one of the things that really bother me. And what I mean by recycling is that the same kind of traps, pitfalls that I see for the last 20 years, I've seen about 30 or 40 cycles of women going through the same thing over and over again. And nobody's really talking about it. And another thing that bothers me is, you have women or you have people who have a lot of experience in life. And then you have people that don't have that much experience in life. And the people that don't have that much experience in life, they're actually teaching the whole world on how to communicate, how to interact, and they don't have any experience. And the people with experience, they don't really want to give experience because somehow they feel in competition. So this is the constraints that I see in our society. So that's the part that really bothers me. So I have wonderful, wonderful, wonderful hostesses or panelists that are actually going to discuss this in very good detail. I have Mari, Spicy Mari. She has a really good dating service. And one of the things I love about Spicy Mari, she talks about communication. And communication is the key. And I know that communication is the key. And we need to talk about how communication can not only empower you within a relationship, but actually can empower you and get your dreams to come true. So I love to have Spicy Mari. She's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now I have Spirit here. Oh, I just met Spirit. Now Spirit is amazing because she was actually just taking thoughts out of my mind and she was actually repeating them. I couldn't believe the things she was saying. I was just letting her talk and I was just like, oh my God, she keeps thinking the same things that I'm thinking. So I'm really, really, really excited to have and listen to your words. Now, Alicia here, oh my God. Now, I was at an empowerment, or it was actually a conference, and she was talking about a lot of different things. And one of the things she was talking about was trauma. Now, we don't really talk about trauma in our society today. Now, me personally, I'm gonna give you my personal experience of my trauma and how I dealt with my trauma and I dealt with my pain, and it actually cleared a lot of things up for me. So I love Alicia here. I love what she has to say, and I'm really looking forward to what she's gonna talk about. And then we have Nisa here. Nisa is like about hair. She's got all these hair products. She's owned her own hair business. And as we know, our hair means so much to us and how we feel about ourselves and how our security and all these things. Hair is so essential to how we feel about ourselves. So we have a wonderful panelist. I want you to thank them for coming out today, and I thank you guys for coming out today. So now, one of the things that we showed in the video was this whole thinking like a man. And so now I want to ask our panelists, is it essential to think like a man to be successful in our society? Anybody can join that conversation.
I think not.
Pull up a...
I think not. I don't think that it's essential that women think like men. If we were meant to think like men, we would have been men. We would have been created like men to think like men. We're women for a reason. We have our own way that we process information, and I feel like that's essential to add balance to any relationship. So I don't think that it's necessary that we think like men. It may be helpful to know what men think like in order for us to communicate better, in order for us to interact better, but it's not essential for us to think like men.
Now that was the thing about the whole Steve Harvey thinking like a man. It started off like, let's analyze, let's understand what men are thinking, but to me it actually came projected like I need to think like a man to be successful. I don't know how it got turned around. So, Mari, what do you think about that?
So, one thing about Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man is that they did an amazing job with the marketing and branding of it. To think that you can get insight into how men feel, how to react, how to behave in order to develop a closer relationship with them, or in order to win in a relationship is genius, because we all want to be winners. We all want to conquer a partner and have them. But at the same time, you still need to acknowledge that, and I extremely agree with you, what you said earlier, that we do process information differently. We operate differently as women. And so I think that when it comes to relationships, it's vital to understand who you are as a person, to know yourself very well, so that way when you do provide information to your partner or you do receive information, you're able to understand how they may react, how to not just process it, but also how to respond on their behalf. And it helps with communication, knowing how they feel and how they think. But that doesn't mean that you need to operate and want to be them. You don't have to be a man. And I think it gets misconstrued, especially in the workplace as well, that we think that we need to take on a different gender role in order to be successful. But I do think that in order to have a competitive advantage, you always need to know your component. So you do need to know and understand what they think and how they're going to respond and how they're going to operate in business and relationships and friendships. But that doesn't mean that you change who you are or think differently. It means know your component and be strategic with it.
Now, Spirit, we were talking on the phone, and you were saying that it actually does women a disservice to actually put on this masculine type of persona. Why don't you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the whole title of this book is insulting to the true feminine essence of a woman, because there is a profound intuition that we have. So the masculine is external, and the feminine is internal. In our society, they only respect external force, control, and manipulation. And those are the tactics he used in his book. It was really about control. If you think about it, if you peel it back, you're looking at control, fear-based actions. So when a woman is not in her feminine, she's going to manipulate, control. She's going to do action. Where if she's truly in her feminine, she's going to be magnetic. She's going to use the invisible realm and pull to her what's like her and be able to recognize it in her world. So in our culture, we don't see powerful feminine women on television because they'll never want you to see a true feminine woman in her power who reads and writes with nature. You can't supersede that thinking like a man. We honor our compliment, but we have our own power.
Wow, the audience is agreeing with you immensely. Now, Nisha, you're in the shop all the time, and you hear like a wide variety of women talking about a lot of different things. What is your perception of how women think about thinking like a man and taking on those type of personality characteristics?
Well, in the salon, there's a lot of male bashing.
Let's speak up a little bit. Bring the mic a little bit closer to you. Thank you.
There's a lot of male bashing as far as thinking like a man and like act like a woman, think like a man. I really didn't read the book, but
well, you say there's a lot of male bashing.
Yeah, there is. Not in the actual negative way, but far as men in the workforce and them feeling more empowered over women in the workforce. So I agree with all three of the women, and I just feel like we're all strong, black women, and we all have our own thoughts and minds, and we just have to continue to, strive for what we believe in.
Okay. Thank you so much. Another characteristic that really has come to my attention is the characteristic of shaming. Now, one of the things that I have found with sex and shaming is that, like, when men have sex, we're studs. We're actually conquering. But when women have multiple sex partners, they're little sluts, they're downgraded. And so what I've noticed here is that, all the negative emotions, all the negative aspects get pushed onto the woman, and the man gets all the positive accolades, And so that's the deep thing in the shaming aspect. But now when we see shaming in our society, it's like, well, don't shame me for what I'm wearing. Don't shame me for my attitude. It's like, yeah, shaming is an issue, but I don't think we're really getting into equal expression of our interaction, especially when it's sex. So what do you guys think about the whole anti-shaming discussion that's going on in the media today? Is it helping women? Nobody wants to discuss this?
Well, you know what? This is an extremely touchy and controversial issue. So that's why we're kind of like, okay, let me think about it for a second. What do I want to say as to not be offensive? But unfortunately, what is being pushed is offensive. And I believe that you're referring to Amber Rose's slut walk, for instance, right? That's a huge,
exactly.
Well,
I'm sorry. What is offensive?
So the idea so it's two things. The idea that because we are dressed a certain way or we look a certain way, that we're asking to be mistreated. But then there is the reversal of that because we don't show respect for ourselves looking this way, that we must be sluts or that we must be using this as an excuse to be a hoe. So I think that what's going on right now is that there's been a shift in what we used to value, and now we've become desensitized from a sexual component with just what the media has produced and the images that we see and the sexuality that we constantly see on television, the lyrics that we hear. All of it has contributed to what our threshold is and what our limitations are now, and the boundaries that we originally had for us. Previous generations have been kind of, they've diminished. They've really, unfortunately, there's no boundaries anymore when it comes to the way that we carry ourselves or what we wear. But then there's the flip side, though, of what Amber Rose's slut walk has done, which she has represented a certain type of or certain group of people, a certain culture and certain movement of people who are deeming themselves sexually empowered, be it whatever their sexuality is, but be it whatever their profession is. And I think, like most things, when something has happened so much that's negative, instead of allowing yourself to hate yourself for the things that are going on, you've internalized it and tried to reverse it. Like a lot of the things that have happened in our ancestry with slavery, there's certain terminology that we use now that in order to take power away from the slave master, now we've embraced it and claimed it as our own and call our own family members or our friends these things. But it's the same thing when it comes to our sexuality. I think that we as women have been treated as inferior or derogatory based on us wanting to have sex and having desires and wanting to be able to sleep with whomever, just like men are able to, we have challenged that, and now we're part of a generation and a time when we're owning the word, and I think we're trying to use it as a method to not be hurt or ashamed anymore. But that doesn't mean that shame doesn't still come with it, and that the things that we're doing in order to empower ourselves are still extremely negative. So I don't necessarily agree with the way that we're doing it, but we've been doing it for centuries like this. We've tried to take the power back by owning it as our own.
Isn't the goal, though, to have sexual satisfaction?
The goal is everybody should have an orgasm. If you haven't,
More than one.
we have Google.
Multiple
There's no
orgasms.
reason
Absolutely.
that
Now-
you shouldn't figure it out.
I'm sure you guys are aware of the statistic, like, what is it? 40% of women have never experienced an orgasm?
Yeah,
Especially in
it's
the
not
West.
uncommon.
I mean, when you look at that, now we should be more discussing on how to please a woman and what women can do to relax, and what is the issue that's preventing women from having orgasms. Because it's just not men, it's both of us together. And part of the shame and part of the personality is probably contributing from women not relaxing. So that's one goal. The other goal is, and I want to get with you here, Spirit, is that don't women want to attract something? Isn't the dressing there to attract some type of energy, to bring on that individual that may be able to help me? And instead of bringing on that exact individual with that exact need, I'm just going to just say, I just want to attract anybody, and let me take anything that falls off the wall.
Yeah, women have been conditioned in our society to attract men, chase men for various reasons. It's been the way we've been conditioned. And so, yeah, a lot of women dress to attract a man, to magnetize a man. And the thing is that, you know, in our society, the social construct is that the feminine is reduced to stilettos and tight jeans and, you know, showing a lot of cleavage, or, you know, dressing a certain way to attract a man, right? That's how we've been conditioned, but that's a small remnant of the feminine energy. So we're not really showing up as females. We're kind of like, you know, been diminished in our representation of the female, of a goddess. So women feel that, you know, they have to dress and look a certain way. If they say blondes have more fun, we go blonde. If they say big asses are in fashion, we get big asses. If they say big boobs are in style, we get big boobs. If they say what, we jump, how high we jump. And no society can respect a woman who can be played like that, because she is not in her feminine power, she's a tool. So going back to Amber Rose, it's like, first of all, celebrities are tools for corporations. And so if you don't know what you're looking at, and you're looking at someone who is selling an idea, selling a concept to you, you're not aware you're being sold to, then they hack into your psyche, and you begin to change who you are, thinking that someone's outside of you is a standard of beauty, or a standard of glamorous, or a standard of sexy. I mean, I'll call it what it is, so children here, right? That's a mind fuck. Women have been mind fucked to think that they are not the standard of their own beauty and sexuality. So Amber Rose is a tool for corporations to sell an idea. Now, sexual shaming, you know, I don't get why men, I think you should ask the men this question, why you call women sluts, and why you try to demean their sexual aliveness, if you will. Every woman has to own her own sexuality for herself. And I think women now who have been repressed, they're going into overcorrection. So when you become repressed, you go to the other extreme. And somewhere maybe in the near future, we'll make it into the middle. We'll have more balance. But I think that the whole expression has to come out this way, because when you're repressed, it's like when you're broke, right, and you don't have no money, and you hit the lottery, you spending everything, you buying everything, you're going out there. I think women now are feeling, okay, I've been repressed, I can be sexually free, let me go out there, not really in tune to their true sexuality, the true sexual power.
I love that, I love that. Now, you mentioned magnetic energy. And as a man, I've been privy to actually experience magnetic energy. Like, I can think of a thought, I can think of a need, and actually it'll show up. And I love when that happens on a more consistent basis. It seems to be very random. Now, women and their intuition and their inner creativity, you know, they have that capacity to really attract what they need in society. But we have been kind of led astray. So, Alicia, what do you think about that as far as that inner power, that invisible power that we don't really talk about, that just kind of shows up when people come into our lives?
Well, we opened up a whole lot that ties into all of this, piggybacking off of what they said. For one, I'm going to give you a little flip side of this, because that internal power comes with uncovering layers of yourself and getting in tune with yourself. So if we're looking at the media for what's desirable and how we get attention as a woman, if I wear this outfit, I get attention from this type of man, and I want that attention because that type of man comes with these types of benefits, and I like those benefits, and I want to feel loved, and then we have all these issues. And so it's important to go inside of yourself, like you were saying, and to really tune in with who you are. And I feel like as this whole movement that's happening with the women who are like, okay, you know, with the Amber Rose slut-shaming thing and all of this stuff, women who are like, I'm liberated now, I'm free. This has given women a platform, all kinds of women, a platform to say, you know what? I actually do have sexual feelings. I actually do like sex. I actually do like the way my body looks naked. I actually do like the way certain things feel on my body. I actually do like to express myself the way that I want to. I actually do like to have sex with multiple people sometimes, you know. I'm not the type of woman who wants to be in a committed relationship or whatever the case may be. So while there is the media is pushing this, the women's liberation movement, I would say that there is a divine feminine energy that's poured upon us at this time. And so women everywhere are waking up to their divinity and waking up to who they truly are. That's that internal thing. And so things like this slut-shaming thing is like, okay, wow, okay, I'm safe. Now in the media, it's there. Okay, now I can come out of hiding, and I can say that this is who I am, and this is how I feel. And so, like, for me personally, I like to wear clothes that are tight and that fit nice on my body. Sometimes those things are revealing, and sometimes I have to go, well, if I wear this, is it, you know, is this gonna come off across like this? Like even tonight, I wanted to wear a different shirt that was a little more revealing, and I was like, well, you know, like, how is that gonna be perceived? Maybe I should tone it down a little bit, you know, but I didn't wanna wear it so I can get attention. I want to wear it because I feel good in it, I look good in it, and I'm feeling myself in it, and I like to feel myself.
That's right.
And that's a part of, you know, being your divine self, being your feminine self. Sometimes you want to like do like this, and when I do like this, it's majestic, and people are like, oh my gosh. And I can have on a ton of clothes, I can have on no clothes, I can have on what I'm wearing now. You know, when you're in your feminine essence, that natural, intuitive way of being just sort of happens. And that natural intuitive being, I believe, for me, it leads me to want to be naked in nature, praying to the stars in the moon, and dancing and doing stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So the more I go in, the more clothes come off, the more freer I become. And so I don't do that to get attention. I do that because it feels good to me. I feel connected to the earth. I feel connected to myself. I can hear better. I can hear myself better. And I move the way I'm supposed to move as a feminine being. So that's my whole take on that. And
so you're basically taking layers off of the conditions, and your clothes are a representation of those kind of external conditions that society has placed on you.
Well, I
in a
feel
general
like,
sense.
Yeah, and I feel like a part of me, a big battle for me growing up was what I wore, because if I wore certain things, I attracted certain attention. And just because I attracted that attention, just because I wore those clothes, didn't mean I was trying to attract that attention. It just so happened that, okay, when you wear these things, this is the type of attention you get. I'm like, but it's hot, it's summertime, I want to wear shorts and I want to wear a bikini top. I don't want to get attention, I don't want to get raped because of it. I don't want somebody, you know, catcalling me because of it. It's hot. Men are wearing no shirts, and I have to wear a shirt. I have to cover my nipples, so I'm going to wear a bathing suit top. Why should I get catcalled for it? So I went through this whole thing where my whole life I was like trying to balance out, okay, well, if I wear that, I'm going to get that attention, so let me cover myself up. I went like 3 or 4 years covering myself from head to, literally covering myself from head to toe so as not to get that attention, but then I wasn't true to myself. So as far as clothes are concerned, I feel like as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, that's all that matters. Sometimes you're gonna get attention that you may not want, but then again, it goes into being your true self. You're gonna magnetize like magnetizes like. So after a while, once I got comfortable in myself, I stopped getting the bad attention when I started dressing provocatively, because there's a certain air about me to where people are not gonna come at me disrespectfully. Right. People are not gonna come at me sideways because they recognize who I am, because I recognize who I am. So.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, you know, the number one goal here is know thyself. You know, once you know thyself, then you attract self people who are like you. You know, that's one of my things that I've been really working on, is that internal understanding myself, knowing myself, that if I had amnesia and thinking about what would happen, how I would react, you know, those type of things. Because I'm not going to get into deep into my whole philosophy, but one of the things that I do want to say is that, you know, I believe we're multi-dimensional beings. And there's a part of us that's outside of ourselves, that's living in a timeless dimension, that's talking to us on a daily basis, on a consistent basis. Sometimes we don't hear it because we're so, you know, preoccupied with life. But that's what I'm saying, is that how would I react in a state of amnesia? Because the higher part of myself is trying to talk to me, because I'm really trying to understand who I am. I'm really in a state of amnesia, and I'm growing and I'm learning and I'm becoming my full self. So know thyself is the key element. And once I know myself, then I'm able to attract like beings. That's my motto. So as I say that, can women be empowered through sexuality?
Yes.
Hell yes.
Absolutely.
So break it down, Nisa. I mean, please.
I don't want to be rude, but I do have to step
Please talk
away.
up, though.
I don't want to be rude, but I do have to step away because I have a 14-year-old daughter that's at a workshop, and she just called me 20 times. So
I understand.
I can't focus until I see what's going on.
Okay.
So I apologize.
Absolutely, Mom. That's what we need to do.
I hope she's okay. So, can women be empowered through their sexuality?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because the womb, I call the yoni, which is Sanskrit for sacred space, is our inner seat of power. She's our oracle. And, you know, our anatomy is hardwired for ecstasy. So, you know, in our pelvis, we have, in our brains, we have a neural network of nerves. There are like a superhighway of nerves that go from the pelvis to the back of our spine to our brain. It's very intricate. Men, not so much. Men, not so much. But women is a very complex superhighway of nerves. So sexuality and our brain is so connected. So a woman who is not orgasmic, who is not tuned into ecstasy, is kind of reduced in her power. The only way to truly be empowered as a female is to own your sexuality, is to have these life-changing orgasms that deepen your creativity, deepen your insight, your intuition, that peels back those layers of your programming, and you can touch the very core of your essence. Because how did we get here? We got here through sex. Sex is life force energy. So if you deny that part of yourself, then there's something part of you that's kind of withering. So when men know this, I think, maybe you.
Men know what?
Men know when they see a sexually alive woman who's tapped in, turned on to her energy, what she looks like, how she walks, how she talks, her confidence, her radiance. Women with trauma, who've had sexual trauma, who have not healed that trauma, they're different in their expression of themselves. And so that's why part of what I do as a coach is to help support women get that back, because that is who we are. That's our essence.
Would any of you like to add on that?
I agree with what she said, but in addition to the empowerment component, education. So ignorance is not bliss when it comes to sexuality. If you don't know your body, you can't communicate to your partner, one, how to please you. And if you are single, you can't get pleased unless you know your body and you understand it and you've taken the time to research it. How do you do the research other than experience? And so one thing is when you go into a relationship or you get intimate with somebody else, they may not just be naturally amazing in the bedroom, but there's a certain power that comes with knowing yourself and knowing how to instruct and teach and guide. And so then your pleasure is able to be achieved in addition to you're able to reciprocate now, because it's not just one-sided anymore. And I think that a lot of people don't take the time to research and understand and love on themselves because they either see it as weakness or society has told us that there's something wrong with it. And we've been, we've been treated almost as if it's a taboo topic. And one thing that I always coach people on, especially with children, is that don't allow the first conversation or the first experience or the first insight into sex for your child be with a complete stranger. It should come from within the home. If you're not having these conversations inside of your home about your child's sexuality and what that means and what pleasure is, the first person that's going to teach them isn't going to be focused and love that child as much as you do. Right. And so I attribute that to my spicy mama for having these conversations with me so that it wasn't an experiment the first time that I was intimate. I understood. I called my mother the day that I lost my virginity, and she was like, was it good? Did you orgasm? That's what she said to me the first time I lost my virginity. But I didn't lose it.
Spicy mama.
I love it.
But I waited a very long time before I gave that away because I knew the power that came with it. I also knew what I would be giving away as well because, you know, once you know, it's like biting the apple. Once you pop, you don't stop. And so because I was educated on it and because I understood what comes with that and some of the power that you are giving away, allowing somebody to control the way that you feel in that moment as well, I was able to make wiser decisions with that and navigate with insight as opposed to ignorance. And so there's an extreme amount of power with the education and knowing yourself, but also knowing enough about sexuality in order to provide that to other people as well, especially your partner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very nice. So as we conclude this orgasm and sexually pleasing topic, one thing that society has failed to discuss is the oral conversation, the oral stimulation, the way that you can stimulate a woman with words, with actually being present. You know, we're so physical in this world. You know, we want to touch, we just want to get into it as men. And we have lost the art of really communicating.
Absolutely.
Communicating to not only talk and get to know a person, but really communicate where you can touch a person by your words. I have experienced my words touching a person's body without my hands and without her hands. So can we talk about that? How that's missing in our society and how as a woman you receive that oral stimulation.
You know what is so beautiful about this? Because not every woman is comfortable touching herself. Not every woman is comfortable exploring herself. There's a lot of stuff a lot of messages and things that we received as women that taught us to basically feel ashamed about doing those things, that taught us that we're dirty when we do those things, that we're dirty when we're violated, that all these different messages that we receive that make it difficult for us to even explore our own bodies or feel comfortable feeling good about feeling good. So for me, I was one of those women. I had a lot of sexual trauma and things of that nature. And so when I was like dedicated to healing myself and healing that trauma, because I realized the importance of being sexually liberated. I realized that, okay, in order for me to reach my peak spiritually and to reach my full potential, I have to be sexually liberated. I have to be comfortable in the sexual realm. I have to be able to have sex and have orgasms, even though that wasn't my thing. Like I didn't do that before. So once I made that conscious effort to do that, I only felt comfortable pleasuring myself with my mind. I didn't feel comfortable touching myself. So I had to learn that first. I had to learn how to stimulate myself mentally and how to stimulate myself energetically and how to use my own body and the energy within my own body in order to reach an orgasm, because I couldn't touch myself. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Oh, so how were you able to do that briefly?
so first of all, meditation by stopping and breathing and feeling the breath go through my body and imagining liquid in my body and liquid, yeah. Imagine liquid. You can imagine.
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
You can
Keep going.
imagine different types of liquid too. You can imagine water. You can imagine honey. You can imagine different types of liquid. Rain, water coming down on my head and entering my body through my face all the way down and activating my sacral chakra, which is the chakra that is responsible or that correlates with your sexual organs. And so that is how I did that, through meditation and through conscious effort. I wanted to have an orgasm. I'm just gonna be honest. I wanted to have an orgasm. I'm like, I'm not gonna be one of these 40% of women that doesn't have an orgasm. I'm getting too old for this. No, I'm not a little girl anymore. I need to have an orgasm. I can't spend the rest of my life this way. This is not the way it's supposed to be. Like, I wanna know what it's like. I wanna really love sex and not just do it because one day it might be explosive and orgasmic. No. So with that in mind, I worked with the energy of the moon. And a new moon came and I was like, okay, I want to have an orgasm. I want to master the art of pleasuring myself orgasmically. And then it just started, like, everything fell in line. And then one night I was just orgasming, and then it just never stopped from there. And then now it's so beautiful that I coach women on orgasmic breath. I coach women on orgasmic breath and feminine flow, how to use your breath, how to use your voice, because everything is vibration. And so our voice is a certain vibration, which is a certain frequency. And that voice, that vibration breaks up matter in the body. And a lot of our trauma, a lot of our emotions are stored in our body. And so they create blockages that prevent us from having orgasms and prevent us from feeling pleasure all throughout our body. So through chanting, through different sounds, through breathing and through visualization, I was able to achieve that. And so now I help other women, because there's so many women who have trauma and who have blockages from being molested as children and not reconciling those things. So they're uptight about having a partner to explore their body. Even women who are married have problems having sex with their husbands. So by sharing these things with these women, I'm able to help them. Well, they really do it themselves. I'm just there. Really, women are intuitive. We come up with it on our own. Once we have a safe space created, then we're open. We start telling everything, and then next thing you know, we're giving ourselves our own answer. So I basically just create a safe space for women to process for themselves and give them tools so that they can too have hands-free orgasms. And so same thing with the male partner, our female partner. Yeah, hands-free.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that.
Hands-free.
Hands-free orgasm. That's going to be my new term. So since you brought up sexual trauma, you know, if I look at some of the headlines that have taken place, you know, Brock Turner, he was a Stanford student that was found unconscious the next morning with women on the student lawn out in public. He received 6 months probation. So that's one headline. The other headline was the prosecutor decided not to, excuse me, let me start over. Minnesota, they had the football team that actually got suspended, and none of the football players were prosecuted. And it was like about 11 people that had sex with one woman. And so these are the type of headlines that I'm constantly seeing in our society. And then I also read the headline that 1 out of 4 women have been sexually molested. I mean, is this becoming a growing epidemic, or am I just tripping? Or has it always been there?
It's always been there. This is nothing new. We're just now getting wind of it because we have technology that shares this type of stuff. I went to UCSD, and that's in San Diego. And that's right next to a Navy base. And there were tons of instances of women getting raped by men in the Navy, and the Navy covering it up, and the school covering it up, because the school didn't want the bad press of, oh, bring your daughters to school, and then they get raped. Nobody's gonna pay to have their daughters go to school where they can be placed in harm's way. And so I feel like men have always been protected in that way. And not just in this time, even way back in the day, virginity was such a priceless thing. Like, you want a pristine clean, virgin woman. You know what I mean? And so when people had arranged marriages even, you wanted the daughter had to be a virgin. If she got raped by somebody, a random person, she was no longer any good and could sometimes even get disowned from the family because of it, even when she was a victim of rape. So I feel like this has been going on for centuries, where women who get raped or women who get violated, sexually violated, are not protected. They don't have a safe space to be. Once you're raped, you're like no longer any good. It's like out with you. And even in this society, men are protected.
Great. So as we talk about trauma, trauma is actually emotions. And your body is a storehouse for emotions. And then emotions are energy. So now with trauma, there are emotions that are stored in a long-term part of our bodies that we don't really go back and reevaluate, and it just sits there. What happens when it just sits there?
Oh, it can cause many different, it can cause all kind of diseases. It can cause so many blockages in your life, your mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, all levels. For a female, because of how we're wired, any trauma to the womb is the female brain that's really at play. It's a trauma to the female brain. So how she perceives herself, her choices, how she raised her children, generations after generation, this trauma can affect, generations to come. So when a woman is traumatized, raped, or violated, our society thinks that's the act, and then maybe he gets prosecuted, but they don't look at the long-term generational effect of that one act. And it comes down to, we don't value women in this culture. We just simply don't value them in this culture. And that's a reason, many reasons why that is, but we don't value women, we don't value females and children, or else we would create a society where they're protected and loved and cherished. And so that's not the case. But I'll let you guys know, like in India, I think it's the Gubalanji gang, there's a women there who, they handle their rapists themselves. And
Say that again?
They handle the rapists themselves, and that's what I really want to encourage women.
How do they do that?
Okay, this whole think like a man thing. Let me show you this. This is the. I'm a martial artist, so I do have a fighter in me. But what they do is they go around. If any one of the women in their area is raped, they come together with sticks and hammers or whatever they can, and they get that rapist. So that is the part of the woman in her feminine. We have different aspects of the feminine. There's the goddess of beauty, there's a goddess of war and destruction, goddess Kali. Women who are activated would destroy society, would deconstruct it if it was damaging her seed. The very fact that we're not burning this down, all the trauma that's affected our children, says a lot about our psyche.
How does it show up in the relationships, Mari? One of the things that I've noticed is that sometimes we keep attracting the same type of person.
So when you haven't taken the time to heal, not even to heal, to acknowledge what really happened to you, to address and admit it to yourself, but also to forgive yourself, because a lot of times people put the blame on themselves for whatever transpired. You take that on and you harbor it, and you take it into your next relationship. And maybe trying to block it or to forget what happens, it comes out and it manifests itself in several ways. In your ability to really make a connection and be intimate with your partner, in the way that you communicate, in your trust, in your honesty with them. And so a lot of times, you'll start to see things later on in the relationship that come up that you don't even know is coming from what happened to you, maybe in your childhood or even as an adult, that came and was a violation. You were violated. Somebody took something from you. But a lot of times when we don't take the time to process that information and to heal, it not just comes up in your relationship with your partner, but then later on it comes up in your relationship with your children and the way that you communicate with them and the way that you show fear and the way that you show survival and the way that you raise them later on. And you had said that it's a generational thing. It very much is so. But you can stop that once you begin the healing process and you're able to channel that and start to work on that within yourself. But unless you do that, a lot of times people have, a lot of problems in their relationships, and they, instead of addressing it and acknowledging it and being honest with their partner, they pretend or they decide that they're going to forget. So silence doesn't make it go away. And you start to punish sometimes your partner for something that happened to you that they didn't even do. We call this baggage, but later on, a relationship that could have potentially worked, or a relationship that if two broken people hadn't come together because they're experiencing brokenness and you're experiencing brokenness, so now two dysfunctional people have come together and made a broken family. And it really is why therapy is so important. If you are afraid of it, unfortunately, our community has been told that, that something's wrong with you or that you're sick if you get therapy. It is natural and it's healthy to be able to work your problems out with a professional who can help you get through it, because they will help you figure out where this is coming from before it's too late. Don't wait until it's time for you to get divorced, or don't wait until you're having problems with your child to go and seek that help. It's okay to do it early on so that it doesn't have to. Don't wait till you're sick to go to the doctor, pretty much.
Yeah, another way that emotions and energy gets trapped in the body and manifests in the body is, for a lot of women, fibroids. I also help to cleanse and detox women's wombs. And so fibroids, endometriosis, polyps, STDs, all sorts of things are carried in the womb, from not letting go of anger towards men, from unforgiveness of the self and of others. All of these emotions, they're stored in our womb. That's the way that we're designed. So it's very important that we clear out that energy and that we deal with our issues and not just sweep them under the rug like you two were saying. Like, we can't just sweep them under the rug. We have to acknowledge them and to deal with them. I feel, though, that a lot of women don't deal with them because for some reason, no, we know the reason after I tell you what it is, we don't feel safe enough to do it. It's like, well, I'm going to voice this and then what? It's still going to happen. So I'd rather not say anything and let it happen than me say something and then me be disrespected and not be listened to. So there's like this whole thing going on where women don't feel like they have the authority to be able to speak about what's really going on inside of them. So
I want to just say this also, because this is important. Women who have trauma, letdown, pain, betrayal, whatever, all that energy, it's like it imprints on our womb and our psyche, right? So there's a pattern of behavior that we are not conscious of, but our life magnetizes the people, the experiences, to keep showing us what you can't see about yourself. So I had a client this morning, we're talking to her, and she was molested, and she was saying how I call these men, low voltage meaning that they are the takers, they take from you, they don't give to you. And so she was saying her husband's a low voltage man. And that's one thing too, because she said she shared her trauma to her husband, and he threw it up in her face when they went to college. She got raped in college. They went to her reunion, and she was talking to her male friends, and he was like, "Oh, why are you talking to them? I know you were slept back in your college days." To his wife, who had revealed, became vulnerable. So it's like the men have to be the man to rise up in his masculine power and gift, to be able to hold the space for his woman. And every man is not worthy of that vulnerability. So we have to really discern what quality manhood is. Because it's our patterns sometimes that are attracting and magnetizing these men to us, and we can't see it's just a pattern. So we have that. To me, is a dangerous, very dangerous thing when we are unconsciously bringing these men to our space.
Mm-hmm. That's
well, I have to piggyback on that.
Yeah.
And the reason why I have to piggyback on that is that I constantly had a reoccurring relationship with not the same woman, but the same type of personality, the same type of issues. And, you know, they would show up in my 20s, and I was like, oh, it's them women is all that. Then I started looking later in my 30s, like, well, wait a minute, I'm seeing some consistency here, and I'm the common denominator here. So finally, you know, life has a way of actually forcing you to deal with it. And the body is really intelligent. The body has its own intelligence separated from our own minds. And sometimes the body has sensations that sees another person that can actually help you heal, and it'll send like, ooh, I'm in love with her. Ooh, I am stimulated by her. And that's your body telling you that you need to interact with her in order for you to heal. And so for my instances is that I was psychologically traumatized. See, the type of behavior with women happens is that women have a sexually traumatized. For men, it's psychologically traumatized. And then the condition, it goes on generationally. So finally, I'm just going to wrap this up. I met somebody, I had a child with her, and she forced me to deal with my childhood trauma. And until I dealt with that childhood trauma, I was going to continue to attract that same type of woman in my life. So once I finally cleared that, and it's just like we're infinite beings, but unfortunately we live in a finite type of world. So meaning is that our bodies is fully covered with energy, and sometimes half of that energy is bad, half of that energy is negative. And once we clear that negative energy out, then we have the opportunity to attract positive. But you have to clear that negative energy out. So when we talk about trauma, how do you relate it to the pain body? If you guys are really up on the pain body, as the audience, the pain body is, what was that author's name?
Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, and he did The Power of Now. Mm-hmm. It's something that we all need to really look at, the pain body. The pain body is a part of yourself that shows up, and it's not even you. But you go on acting like it's you, and you actually start to project your personality on other people, and you start to create harm on other people. And then you wake up and you go, oh, wow, well, but you're unconscious of that whole behavior. No, it really happens that way. We all done it, but we don't understand what that is. And so the way I look at society nowadays, society is very sophisticated. It'll store these traumas inside your body, these emotions, and then it'll trigger it. Yeah. And then it triggers it, and it happens in your relationship. Absolutely. And you ladies want to talk about that? The trauma and the pain body connection?
You sound like you have a testimony.
Wow, yeah. We think 50 to 70,000 thoughts every day.
50 to 70,000?
50 to 70,000 thoughts we think every day. And that's amazing, right? But what's more amazing is that we think pretty much the same 50 to 70,000 thoughts every day. So our perceptions of ourselves is really like, again, this programming conditioning. And so like for me, I know like when I was in my relationship with my husband, he would trigger me, right? He would say something and I'll have this deep physical reaction. And then what I began to do, instead of just reacting, I began to sit with myself and say, well, why does this feel uncomfortable to me? You know, why do I feel insecure right now? Because our inquiry, when we bring it to our conscious awareness, it's no longer running us. We become conscious, we become aware, and that's where the power is to bring your inquiry, bring your mind to what you're feeling. So he would say something and I would feel insecure, and I didn't know, but after a while I began to say, let me sit down with this. Why am I insecure? Why do women get triggered if her man looks at another woman? Like, where does it come from? What's deep inside of you? Why am I feeling this way? And it's these emotions, these trapped emotions that are just like sitting there in different parts of your body, because you may feel it in your chest, you may feel it in your womb, you may feel it in your head. They are all everywhere, the pockets of energy. And when you're triggered, be thankful, because the person who is triggering you is giving you an opportunity to bring something to your conscious awareness. So I thank my ex-husband. I thank him. He's like my guru, because he woke me up to some he woke me up.
I agree with you. I thank my ex too. Yeah. As much as pain as I went through, I'm constantly put her on the highest respect, because without her, I would not be here.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's sometimes when you look at pain, You know, and I think we talked about this offline, is that as a society, we want to just attract ourselves to pleasure. Pleasure feels good. Pleasure is the thing that we all quest to be in. But the pain, once you process the pain and get through the pain, there's another side beyond the pain.
Yeah.
And we don't want to deal with the pain.
No.
We just want to put it back into the back of our minds and forget all about it.
Right.
And I think that that's the root of what's causing a lot of pain within our physical relationships, a lot of pain with self-sabotaging behavior.
Yeah.
And I was definitely the king of that. And so dealing with the pain and actually getting to understanding how the body is communicating and becoming one, where you don't have these internal conflicts, meaning your mind, your body, and your spirit are cohesive in oneness. I know one of the things that I start doing with the conflict, because we all have internal conflicts, and the pain creates the internal conflicts. I would have conversations about an opportunity, and it would be both sides of the conversation. And then I would go back and forth, and I would resolve that inner conflict. And guess what? When I resolved that inner conflict, the blessings started to come. So it's really about the internal conflict, the internal pain that we relieve that actually can bring blessings. We can conclude with this type of conversation.
What was your question?
Once you deal with the pain, let the blessings come. That process.
So I think that that's partially true when it comes to relationships. Let me explain. We're talking right now about trauma and about being in circumstances or situations with partners that it gets unleashed. I think that everybody is capable of having that ignited. All of us, if we're pushed to our limits, we can kill somebody. I think it's in every single one of us. We are human. I think that who you choose as a partner or who you choose to keep in your company can ignite your evil or ignite your good. Just like iron sharpens iron, evil can make you more evil and bring out a side of you that you didn't know you were capable of, but that may have been festering or that may be coming from a different area in your childhood. So although you may have not acknowledged it, someone else can bring that out of you. But because you chose a partner that is just as destructive as you, because we date at the level of our self-esteem, you just were ignited and now you've unleashed your wrath on somebody. And we stay in those situations. It's a reoccurring pattern. And so I do believe that we need to heal, but we are also attracted sometimes, and we find comfort and we seek comfort in a lot of that trauma, a lot of that drama, and a lot of that pain. We want people sometimes that are just as broken as we are. So although we're like, oh, I want to heal, the choices that we're making are because the person who is just as broken as we are we think are more likely to accept us, because we see some of ourselves in them and vice versa. And so we do need to heal, but we also need to be cognizant of, when you are broken or when you are in a place of depression or low self-esteem, why are you choosing a partnership? Because in that moment right now, you need to focus on self. Because if not, you're only going to be twice as destructive with your partner in crime. And so, yes, we need to heal. I agree with that. But I also think we need to make wiser choices in who we decide that we're going to allow into our lives.
You guys care to add on that at all?
I want to say that I find that very interesting about the pain, because you know how you said that there's a spectrum basically, right? You have your evil.
Speak up a little bit.
There's a spectrum basically. You have like your evil side and you have your good side, and certain people pull out certain things. And I feel like every part of us is necessary in any given moment. I feel like there's a difference between pain and working out trauma versus certain characteristics that we have that we need to pull into or pull from for certain things at certain times. So I think that that's two different separate things. I definitely agree that we attract where our self-esteem is, and that the issue is that we're not given a blueprint growing up about how to deal in relationships. We're not given a blueprint about how we attract relationships to us. We're not given a blueprint on how to work through our stuff. So sometimes But the beautiful thing is that the universe, everything works together for our good. So you may be experiencing these patterns over and over and over again and attracting people to you and continuously being hurt over and over again until you're fed up with it. And when you're fed up with it, then all of a sudden that person comes that's like, this is your healer, because the student is ready now, you're fed up. So then you meet somebody and it's like, oh, this is different. And so when you meet that person or that situation or that opportunity where things are different, when your pain body comes up and starts speaking and starts reacting, that individual or that guru or that teacher or that opportunity or situation shows you something different. So you have no room to fight that. It's like it douses the fire, you know what I'm saying? Instead of igniting it, so you're able to do things a different way. So the beautiful thing is that even though we're not given the blueprint and we're not given a lot of teachers, we're not given this education in elementary school and middle school and high school, we do have our internal self who, once we get fed up, our internal self is already creating situations to make us fed up. Like here's another one. You know what I mean?
You ain't done yet.
Now are you finished?
You ain't done yet.
You want more? You know, you're done getting beat up? You know, are you ready? And so once inside you make that decision, that conscious decision, like, I am sick of this, like, God, please help me. And then boom, something changes. You know what I'm saying? So we're granted that. But I feel like what we're doing, coaching people and having more opportunities and situations like this, even at an earlier stage, maybe in high school, when people's hormones are really high and, you know, people are starting to engage in sex or become more curious about it, having these discussions about being healthy, having a healthy outlook on self, having a healthy outlook on others, loving yourself and what that feels like, giving yourself the attention, love, affection, devotion, honor that you want somebody else to give you to yourself, so that way you attract others who do the same thing, because it's all about how you feel. If you're feeling good, you attract good things. If you're not feeling good, you attract more not good feeling things. So I feel like that plays into it as well.
Okay, well, we're going to conclude, but as we conclude, ladies, what are your top things to self-empowerment?
I would say, of course, communication. Part of the thing that I do for my program is it's called The Spicy Life, and it starts with self. So knowing yourself, self-awareness, self-perception, but with that, you then go into passion. What are you passionate about? The next one would be intimacy. How you define intimacy. Knowing how you define intimacy is also part of communication, because the message that you're sending, and in addition to that, the message that you're receiving is empowering. And then learning to say yes to new ideas, to learning yourself, to acceptance and acknowledgement, but then also knowing when to say no and learning when to say yes to the right people and at the right time. So self, passion, intimacy, communication, and learning to say yes is spicy and empowering.
Beautiful said. Beautifully said. Spirit?
You said 3?
Huh? 3.
Oh, okay. You have to know thyself. You have to define yourself. So I always say, give yourself a motto. Give yourself a manifesto. Who are you? Define it. And every person is going to be different. Like, you know, you have to this will be your compass when you're faced up against situations. Who are you? Define it and say it to yourself every day. What is your manifesto? Make 2 sentences that are short and sweet, but make sure it's clear about who you are. Also, don't abandon yourself for anyone or for no reason. Don't abandon yourself. That is key, you know. And I say also is that we are vibrational beings, and that if we can tap into get anchored in our own divinity through however means, through your creativity, through dance, through art, whatever your super genius is, allow that to connect that with your own divinity. And those are my 3.
Alicia?
So I feel like, in addition to it, you guys said, I love this, because we're like all.
I know we're in this.
Yeah, so it's like, yes, we get to add more to the. One thing is to be honest with yourself. Wherever you are, it's okay. Just be honest with yourself. As long as you're always honest with yourself, you can do and move to wherever you want to be. But you have to be willing to acknowledge where you are, and that includes the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So first one is to be honest with yourself, to accept yourself. Accept it. So now I'm honest. Yes, I can be manipulative, but I accept that part of me. The reason why I was this way is because I felt like I was being taken advantage of in these situations, and I felt threatened, and this is why. I mean, just be able to accept you for who you are and where you are. Yes, I feel these things right now. This is not who I am. This is where I want to go, and this is what I aspire to do. So be honest with yourself, accept yourself, and speak life into yourself. I look in the mirror and I tell myself that I'm beautiful. I look good, I smell good, I taste good, I am good, I am powerful, I am divine, I am intelligent. I can do whatever I choose to do. Today is going to be a magical day. I'm feeling real juicy, and I love life. And everywhere I go, I am celebrated. Everywhere I go, there are gifts given to me, and I just love it so much. And I speak life into myself. I speak life into my situations. Like, I'm still human, so sometimes something might happen. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and I get this anxious and, you know, energy about me, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I am a divine being, and I'm always on divine time, and everything always works out the way that I desire it to work out. Everything is always good. It always works out for my best interest. And you know what? It's about to be a lovely evening, or it's about to be a lovely experience. I'm about to drive. I'm going to meet somebody who I'm supposed to meet that's going to give me what I need to get to the next level, and I'm so excited about that. So, but I have to catch myself, and I have to verbally do this. So I would say those are my three things: honesty, acceptance, and speaking life into yourself and your situations.
That's very well said, very well said. I think the formal conclusion here is really know thyself, love thyself, and then one thing that you can do is those affirmations. I am. My I am statement. I am infinitely teleporting, I am infinitely teleporting, regenerative abundancy, nourished with love. I say that to myself all the time. I am infinitely teleporting, regenerative abundancy, nourished with love.
Nourished with love.
So anytime that I have a down moment, that's what I say to myself, and I breathe.
Yes, yes, breath is important. And it may seem crazy at first. And when I
want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank my wonderful, wonderful guests. They were amazing. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
And we're going to continue this conversation, but now we're going to actually continue and listen to the live band. Thank you so much.